Hi, I asked you guys to ask me questions, and I got a question from Alexander Fernando 2995, and he said, I've got a question. Would you consider yourself enlightened? And if so, how would you define the experience of enlightenment? So, two questions there. Let's try to answer it in a way that's useful. Everybody walks away from this video with a clear, something that can help. One saying goes very simply that within a person who is enlightened, there is light. If you think about it, this kind of tosses the ball back into your corners in two ways. And first and foremost, and most importantly, it tells you that if you are enlightened or you're becoming enlightened, there will be light, there will be seen a illumination within you. It's up to you to experience this, and you yourself must be filled with light. And this is very typical Gnostic teaching, but it's also typical of any kind of high practice. You have to get out there and do. And so the question you should ask yourself about your time listening to me and watching these videos is, does this make me want to practice? The level of involvement here is a little bit more than just folding your hands and praying to the deity of your choice, although that certainly can be a part of your practice. But here you also have to sit for periods of time, and you don't want to stop before you see actual light and visions appear before your eyes. And it's a little bit, my role is that of the artist woman who was painting 100 pictures and showed it to a man. And the man looked at it and he said, this thing that you've painted, it seems very similar to a, yeah, it does, doesn't it? Does it make you uncomfortable? Vagina? And it didn't make him uncomfortable, and so it happened that later that night they ended up in bed together. And so in the same way, when you look at these videos and I show you pictures of me essentially getting a peek behind the veil and seeing something else than the usual stuff that's behind my eyes, does it make you want to practice? Does it make you want to do it? Ascension. See, when I show you these journals, I am doing something very cool, and that is that you might have the same experience. And what if we are not 1 in a million, but 1 in a billion? Then billions of other people using English see no use for repertoire in words as far as what we experience is concerned. And now we don't have a language. But I don't need to worry about not having language when I meet people. I simply take out a book and a pen and draw what I need them to understand. And right here, right now, through this, just looking at the symbols, we have what we need to make a word that would have taken hundreds of people the same experience. So kind of like a tourist in a different country, you can go, look at this, what is this? Do you know that? Can you teach me this? Can you do this? And that's something you now have as a tool. I also ask about the experience of enlightenment, and I bet what you want is that big, bright, flashy, like life before and life after. And so where is somewhere you can get that? Well, I want you to look at this illustration and particularly look at the navel chakra that you see here. And then I want you to look at this, which is something I have made, and it's now natural for you to assume that this is based off of this, and I certainly got a lot of help. But initially, my observation was here, And where is this? I traveled to Peru a couple of years ago and I stayed at this fantastic place called Arcana Spiritual Center. Very beautiful and very nice. And I stayed in the room right here, and it took me back to the 80s. You know, I've always liked the 80s. It was such a positive time. And I did some very hard practices that required a lot of work, frankly. And during this practice, I saw, I started seeing things. I got that vision. And when I got that vision, I entered like a room, and I remember there was a triangle on a cross, and that's how I remembered it. But I also had a ton of other experiences. But what was so fantastical about this particular vision was that I was completely unfamiliar with the chakra. And so that picture, you will see it's not a perfectly round circle on my illustration because I had to sacrifice some geometry to get the visuals right according to what I saw when I was there, because I wanted to represent what I saw accurately. Even though most experiences I showcase here are from simply just meditation and that that you connect with just meditation, it would be so dishonest, and so it just wouldn't be nice to hide from you that there are these things that could immediately open your third eye. But it's a workout. It's a workout. You better do some research, and it's gonna make you even better to come there with this meditation and help you deal with that kind of experience that in my case was extremely expensive. But I know of many people that they are out there and they can basically forge these things, and it's even legal, and the legalities aren't that far behind. I've heard Donald Trump himself wanted to legalize it. I do know from personal experience that ayahuasca, if you have any sort of thing in your life that's intoxicating you, that you will have a completely new found respect for that. It's like, even to just take a coffee, it's such a missed opportunity to create a sacred act if you just waste it. And for me to take a cigarette, holy shit, it's a huge thing if I do that. And alcohol, I don't even want it anymore. It's just immediately, it's such an immediate thing where it's like, look, this body is a temple. And I know you guys got a temple down in Mecca, but this... And I actually had a kind of funny experience with this because I make this art, but this is actually quite common in ayahuasca culture, that you make art of what you see. And the Shipibos, they make their art and they have their specific art style that they make their art in. And I have my way of doing things, but I can kind of see from other pictures that other people have made. It's like, I know where you went because I've been to the same place and I recognize the feeling and the imagery and the intensity of the light that you are describing to me. And it's this thing where you come up, you emerge from the yellow place, you go up here, and you're kind of floating on the Icaro, the song of the shamans, and then you go into the very colorful place, and then you come back and you're like, whoa dude. But the funny thing is that just look at this visionary art. Just look at it. Now look at this. We are expressing the exact same thing, I feel here. And this one I found much later. And like, I know what kind of experience it's trying to depict. I recognize that it costs a lot to do these kind of travels, right? And not everybody affords it. So I'm happy to tell you that this was before I ever did any ayahuasca or anything like that. The same with this. This was simply speech induction and meditation, and you can have these and vast majority of experiences shown on this channel is attained sober, and when it's not, I usually say, like, this was down in Peru. I usually am pretty open about that stuff. You've just seen me be open about that stuff. But like this here, this can be this is sober. This you can do sober. Done it sober many times. This is like a short little buzz in the morning, and this completely sober, completely sober. So you mustn't be like, oh, I guess I just have to, no need to practice. I don't have any of these things that can help me. No, this is easy, kind of. If it's not going to take you 40 years, is what I mean by easy. This can be achieved in 1 year. And I find it to be much easier, actually, the more colorful it is, which is counterintuitive. Like what you're seeing right here, presented in these images on the screen right now, is attainable completely sober. And there's no need for anything but your patience and your diligence and your practice. Some lung tzu, some breathing, some fantasy, some creativity, that inner teaching, that inner teacher. But at the same time, it's equally dishonest to not tell you about ayahuasca experiences, or just completely brush them off as ineffective. It's a huge overlap here. I guess if anything, I'd be like, okay, but it goes away, so enjoy it. So the kind of experiences that hasn't left me, like being able to get this at a breath's notice, this illusory room and illusory body and clear light thing, this has been attained, of course, mostly sober. And I think you can do the whole thing sober. And the best experiences, you wouldn't want to. Yeah, I mean, you. If I could not come back, I would not come back. Make a comment on your comment so you get a short, specific answer as well.